More scam calls in Washington City. Criminals caught in a lie might be doing more time, and Springdale's attempt to hold on to its unique village atmosphere.
You're watching St. George News at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Christy Langenheim. In a newscast last week, we notified listeners about scammers claiming to be with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. A Washington City woman shared her story with St. George News on a scam call that she received. Here's Cody Blowers with more on the story.
A reader reached out to St. George News detailing a scam wherein the fraudster calls their intended victim, telling them there is a warrant out for their arrest because they failed to show up for jury duty. And the only way they can avoid being arrested is to go to their bank and withdraw thousands of dollars to purchase either gift cards, Bitcoin, or in this case, Green Dot cards. And once these fraudsters have the authorization code, that is all they need to separate the victim from their money. These scammers are also doing their homework, and they have a lot of information on their intended targets, as well as information on the law enforcement agencies that they claim to represent, to use fear and intimidation to extort the victim out of their money, when in reality, it's all a sham. According to authorities, law enforcement will never call and demand payment under the threat of arrest, and no matter how frightening the call may be or how much intimidation the scammers use, the best thing to do is to hang up and report the incident to local police.
Thanks, Cody. A newly introduced bill may put criminals who lie to the police behind bars a little longer than they used to. Here's Haven Scott on the bill and how it came to be.
Utah criminals could soon wind up with more jail time if they lie to police officers during a drug arrest. Utah Representative Ken Ivory introduced HB 211 into the Utah State Legislature 2024 session on Tuesday. The legislation makes it a crime for a person arrested to falsely claim the actor ingested drugs before the arrest and makes other technical changes. Washington City Police Department's Lieutenant Corey Klotz told St. George News that suspects may lie to police during an arrest thinking it will delay jail time, but it actually winds up wasting an officer's time and potentially taking them away from other duties. When a suspect claims to have ingested drugs during an arrest, they are taken to the hospital for medical clearance in handcuffs, Lieutenant Johnny Hepler with the St. George Police Department said. Law enforcement must remain with the patient until they are medically cleared for transport to jail, both officers noted. And medical staff who could be assisting on other calls must now be assessing whether the patient actually ingested drugs. Should HB 211 succeed in the 2024 session of the Utah State Legislature, those who claim to have ingested drugs during an arrest and are found guilty could face an additional 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine.
Thanks, Haven. A St. George barber who has been cutting hair for over 50 years is hanging up his shears and getting ready to retire. Here's Bridger Palmer with more on the barber.
Rabbits and Rocket Ships is home to what fellow barbers call a local legend, Richard Lister. Lister has been a barber for over 50 years, 25 of which have been at his current location. Lister is retiring next June and has shared not only his wisdom of the trade, but also some wisdom about life with his fellow barbers. He's 81 years old. And during his retirement, he plans to go up to Idaho to see his brothers and sisters.
Thanks, Bridger. The town of Springdale is growing, and city officials are putting things into place to keep that village vibe. Here's Stephanie DeGraw on the town's new ordinance.
The Springdale Town Council is trying to preserve its village charm by once again tweaking their transient lodging ordinance. Applications increased to the point that town now only accepts them on even years. A community task force has been making recommendations to the Planning Commission and the Town Council.
Thanks, Stephanie. And now here's Jessie Bang with an Ivans artist who chooses to express herself through watercolor paintings.
Chloe Duncan is a watercolor artist that chose to pursue her art career at the age of 27, and it's the best choice she's ever made.
Oh, I do genuinely enjoy it. And I only do images I genuinely enjoy.
Her art is described as whimsical with a twist of fantasy and features muted tones inspired by nature in the winter.
Yeah, this is my most recent one. It's on a watercolor canvas with the muted palette of the colors that I prefer to work in.
Born and raised in Scotland, she's been in southern Utah for 7 years.
This one's definitely one of my most popular ones. It really represents exactly what I'm going for with my art. I guess that's a good way to put it. It's just the colors are perfect. The size, I purposely like leaving a lot of white space, positive, negative space. I think it's really important. Give your eye a break. And I don't know, it's kind of perfect.
Thank you for watching St. George News at 5. I'm Christy Langenheim with St. George News, your #1 source for local news.
This has been St. George News at 5.